order at 3:35 p.m. Secretary Judge, will you go ahead with the roll call?
President Guam,
Present.
Vice President Wilson,
Present.
Treasurer Singh, Speaker Kanigan,
Here.
Senator Bernard,
Here.
Senator Martin,
Here.
Senator Stankovic,
Here.
Senator Isabella, Senator Seed, Senator Trent,
Here.
Senator Taylor,
In the house.
Senator Clark, Senator Shaheen, Senator Medina, Senator Najib, Senator Seal, Senator Svengros,
Here.
Senator Williams,
Here.
Senator Patel,
Here.
Senator Koja,
Here.
Senator Pichetti,
Here.
Senator Downer, Senator Fink,
Here.
Senator Patterson, President, Senator Cootie,
Here.
Senator Wilson,
Here.
Senator Carly, Senator Martis,
Here.
Senator Bechtel, Senator Gamara,
Present.
Senator Walsh, Director Jane,
Present.
Director Najar, Director Nowakowski,
Here.
Director Stevens,
Present.
Senator Cruz, and Advisor Johnson.
Present. Okay, at this time, would anyone like to make any announcements?
I'd like to have an announcement. For any of you that don't know, I'm Bryce Bechtel. I'm the new sophomore class senator, and I just wanted to let everyone know that Senator Isipano and I will be joining to lead textbook drive at the end of the year. We were supposed to give a presentation today, but she had the flu, so that'll be set off to next time. So you will hear more about that next time.
Okay, any other announcements? Senator Patel.
So Senator Gamara and I are going to have a course evaluation event on 25th of April from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So I'm going to need a couple of volunteers. So anybody interested, please reach out to me. Thanks.
Thank you. Senator Shaheen.
So for my class video promotional project, if anyone is in the College of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences and would like to be in the video, please come see me. I already have a couple people that I'm going to get in contact with that I know are in class talking to them. So if you'd like to, come see me. And if you're not in class, you can always like fake it for the video, but that's up to you.
Any other announcements? Okay, moving on to new business, we'll just go right ahead with the e-board update.
So the only thing I have to update on is there is a summit in Akron for Ohio Student Government Association. They're going to be holding elections next Saturday, April 15th from 10 to 3. And so we want to have people join or attend the event who are interested in continuing student government next year. It's a good opportunity to know the folks who are going to be working in Columbus. These are the students that come together and they write joint resolutions. This group was instrumental in advocating or rejecting the House bill regarding the textbook initiative. So what I would like to do is just get a list of names from folks who are interested in actually attending. It's next Saturday from 10 to 3 in Akron. Okay? Sure. You can just give me your name if you're interested and you don't want to commit necessarily.
Talithia, Austin, Damian, Olga.
Okay.
Check the feedback.
This is the opportunity to meet with every student government association in Ohio. And you potentially could have the opportunity to run for a position, which I think would be cool. Does anyone have any questions for me? Cool. All right, thank you.
Moving on to our first senator update with Senator Betterson and Senator Green. And I will let you guys open these as you need. So go ahead. Is the resolution? Okay. is basically just a meeting for organizational leaders. And this will be on April 20th. I let the Senate know that it's going to be on April 6th. We had some issues with ordering food and deadlines that passed. So we moved it back to April 20th. I actually just ordered food today, which is great news to Nick.
Very good.
So if you guys are officers in other organizations, I know a couple of you are, or if you know of any other officers in different organizations who would be available for just like a lunch meeting from 12 to 1 on April 20th, then please let them know and get to know all these organizational leaders and represent them well in SGA.
Just any organizations you know of, any friends you have, let them know, because as I've been able to prove, news doesn't travel very fast through email, so.
Senator Kojal?
Location, what,
Oh, it's going to be in the Student Center in room SC 313. Advise you know?
Remind me, what are we accomplishing at the meetings?
So at this meeting, we're going to be accomplishing just getting to know the organizational leaders, letting them know who we are, because a lot of organizational leaders do not know who.
Do you think that's beneficial, it being April? I mean, I feel like a lot of student organizations are currently in the process of transitioning their leaders out, and we only have, like weeks left of the semester. I just want to make sure that we're using our money
I think
sufficiently.
it absolutely is, because whether or not it's the same senators in the spot next year, whether or not it's the same students in the organizations next year, it's still going to establish a relationship with SGA, and we've tried throughout the school year, through email, through other forms of contact. It hasn't worked, so we're just going to try to keep going ahead and not give up on this.
Is there a way to make sure that it's their new elected officers that are also invited?
Well, we're going to try, obviously, through word of mouth, we're going to try with that, and
Could work with Dan Lenhart.
right, yeah, and even if not, part of the things we'll be talking about is educating future officers and everybody in the organizations that SGA is here for them, that we have specific needs we can fill for any needs that they have.
That's a really good point that you made. Thank you for bringing that up. Our goal is to get to know the organizational leaders who are obviously on their way out at the end of the semester, so they can pass it on to other organizational leaders who will be coming in the fall, and we can do something like this again in the fall and keep it going. All right, any other questions? Senator Martin.
It's not a question, it's a comment. I think this was a great idea, and I hope that the next organizational senator would follow in the footsteps for next year.
We hope so.
Yes. So there's been more to present on the newsletter as well. Yes.
It's just you, I'll step down.
Thank you, Senator. Yes, that was us. Thank you. Okay, so moving on. Moving on, we have, yes, that's the one. We have a newsletter coming up for SGA. And if Dan can come up, let's go really fast. We'll go for the see you guys together. So SGA is going to be putting out a newsletter to the whole university, and this newsletter will be seen by faculty and students, obviously. We want to let them know a little bit of what we're doing at SGA, because that's one of the main complaints we've heard from numerous people, is that people don't know what we're doing. So we want to publish an official newsletter letting people know what we are doing. We have a couple things that are highlighted, the late night study hours, things we're doing with textbooks, and just a couple of things we're doing in SGA right now. We are working on formatting.
The goal is to make it easy to read, eye-catching, and definitely something that kids might want to pick up while they're walking through the hall. So, as of right now, we know that there is a lot of text on the document. We are hoping to change that on the next, when we decide to edit on the upcoming period. But we're hoping to get out as soon as possible.
Yes. So one of my suggestions is that, so Dan and I have been an integral part of this newsletter from the beginning, and then Michael Maslowski has been our formatting guy. And so what we're thinking is to take a picture today with the senators. I know there are a couple senators who aren't here, but this is
Is there going to be an online version?
That's a good question. Secretary Chris.
A big way that anytime that we want to like push something out to other students is we'll probably like have this, either a picture of it or something, we'll put it on Twitter, and then I'm sure we can upload it onto OrgSync and onto our webpage as well.
Any other questions?
Is there going to be like a section in the newsletter that's dedicated to senator input so that we can like, oh, Senator Shaheen is going to be the person commenting on this week? You know what I mean?
Right.
I wasn't quite sure if you guys thought about it.
That's definitely something to think about. Right now, it's only one page back and front. We were kind of hoping we could have almost like a book version, we could open it up and it'd be 4 pages, so one page back and front, another page back and front, maybe like a book version. Kind of like some of the other newsletters that are going around campus now. Just so we have a little bit more room to let people know what we're doing, what we're gonna say. If you guys can see this on the board, oh, that's fine. So this is what it would look like with a picture. This is what Michael came up with. And this was his original thing to go with. It was a picture right in the middle, right at the top, which I think is an amazing idea. But a Senate face to SGA. And so we edit that just a little bit, what you guys are looking at. So it's not so much wording, and you have a picture of different people. Yeah, so does anybody else have any other comments? Or questions? Do you already do the features for this newsletter, for the first one? Yes, everything you see on that newsletter is going to be in this one. It's just minus the picture right now, because we haven't gotten around to that. Well, thank you so much for all your hard work. I know we've been holding off and postponing that picture, so I'm sorry about that. We'll get it to you soon. Thank you guys. Thank you. Moving on to the next agenda item, we have Senator Bethel here to talk about his aid Senator Esteban's project.
I mean, I can.
We'll just go on to Senator Stankovic, and then something that wasn't on the Constitution or amended and then didn't add again was the SGA Constitution revision. So after Senator Stankovic, we'll move on to that.
Hello to all. Talking about the sustainability initiative that we did a couple weeks ago. I spoke to you guys about. We had, as of Monday, 367 students. We need like 3 more, I guess, to fill that requirement of 370. So in order to get this on the ballot in these upcoming weeks, we have a ratification. We have it on.
No, you know, it's here.
Oh, the resolution.
There's a resolution, so hopefully we can vote, and I'll put out a motion to get it on, to vote, to get on the ballot, and then we'll bring that to BOE, Board of Elections.
I have a question. So did you get the amount of signatures that you need for it, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does it mean we'll be editing? Yeah, just reading off. Word.
All right, can all see, can everyone see?
Bottom right corner.
I'm sorry. All right. Can I read this? Resolution of the Student Government Association of Cleveland State University, Cleveland, Ohio, affirming the inclusion of a ballot initiative on the April 18, 2017 SGA general election. Whereas the Student Government Association of the 2016-2017 academic year approves the addition of a ballot initiative regarding sustainability fees on the April 18, 2017 SGA general election. Whereas a sustainability fee refers to the increase of student tuition fees for the purpose of sustainability initiatives on campus at Cleveland State University. Whereas the purpose of including said ballot initiative is to determine the preponderance of student support for an imposed fee for the purpose of sustainability initiatives. Whereas any outcome of said ballot initiatives does not guarantee any particular action on the behalf of Student Government Association, the Department of Student Life, Department of Facilities, Architecture, Safety and Technology, or the Office of Sustainability. Whereas the language of said ballot initiative will be drafted by a member of Student Government Association and will be approved by the Board of Elections. Be it therefore, well, I think that we have to vote on this now. That's what's happening now.
Yes. Okay, did you just finish reading it?
Yes.
Okay, so then propose what you want on the agenda.
So, I motion that I move to vote, no, I move to get the sustainability fee on the ballot. This upcoming ballot.
So does everyone understand the proposition? Okay, so do I hear a second?
No. Can we have more
This guy, he has a question. Go ahead.
So the sustainability fee, so there was an event that I had a couple weeks ago, and it asked questions regarding, whether students would want sustainability measures on campus. It was asked what they would like to see, and like most of the students want to see renewable energy, waste management, more water, refills. And then we asked, would you be interested in a fee increase? And we said 0, 5, 10, and 20. And 141 students said 20. 87 said was 5. 85 said 0. Sorry, going out of order. And then it was $10. That it was the rest of it. So a majority were in favor of fee rather than 0. So this would propose if we voted on this, and it would go on the ballot to see if the students would like to see at least a $5 increase to their tuition, but there's tuition free, so it would be like the RTA fee. So, and then that would go into a sustainability fund in which we could probably make a committee. The students can do it, and they can designate what they want to do with the money. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. What I was wondering is, what question are you phrasing on the ballot? Do you have one like made up because what are you asking us? Are you gonna have the students select the amount of money? Are you just asking in general if you're for it? Because I think
We're going to be specific with the dollar amount.
okay, so it's
So it'll be
$1.
either 5 or 10.
Okay.
Was there anything you want to add, President Paul?
Yeah, the Board of Elections was like specific in them being involved with drafting the language. So what we have to do is just essentially prove that we want something on the ballot, and then it will go from there.
Okay, cool.
I didn't know that they already approved the ABA too, so that's great. So there was a motion on the floor, so do I hear a second? Senator Chang.
My second motion.
Any discussion on the matter? Yes.
When would this be going into effect? Is it in fall 2017?
I'm not sure.
President Paul?
So in the language, it says that any outcome of said ballot doesn't guarantee any particular action. This is to like make a statement to the university, on behalf of the students. This is the most democratic way to do it. So, they don't necessarily have to impose a fee, or they might not do anything about it, but it will show that students would be in favor of a fee. So, maybe some other outcome will come from it.
So, at the end of the day, it is their choice, it is their election, so we'll hear the students' opinion on it. Any other discussion on the matter? Any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes. Moving right on, we have the Constitution, and so this is going to take a while. We're just going to go comment by comment to every additional change or amendment that INL made. So I'll get started. Can everyone see? Should I zoom in a little? Yes. This was sent to you guys a week or two ago, so you do have electronic copy that I can review, so this process will go faster. So the first change we made was the email said CSU Student Government Association at something, and that was an inactive email, so we talked to eBoard and they thought it would be better if we just forwarded all that information to the president's email. So that was the first change. We also made sure the phone number worked. I added a space in between, I think, board of trustees, there wasn't one. And more formatting, I believe this was, I think this was just for the H that we added in. And then made sure the font was the same. I haven't reviewed this document in a while, so I'm sorry if there's a little, something that must be on. Removed the period as well.
Since we're not like voting on this tonight, I would just go with like the, you know, and like language changes or like just go over it, and that's like, you know, where's the formatting of it.
Okay, yeah. So the reason why we didn't put the Constitution on the agenda is because we have yet to look at the operations manual. And depending on the changes we make in the language of the Constitution, that may affect the operations manual as well. So we'll be getting that to you at the next meeting. So if you do have something you want to discuss, just format-wise, let me know. But I'll go ahead. We added the new honors college. Just changed the names of the colleges as well. Format. Okay, so this is the first thing that we added. We changed the language of a veto just because we were specific before, and I think one of the problems we recognized in INL was just that sometimes there's certain things that I'm assuming people that edited the Constitution in the past just assumed would be carried over, and I don't think that is the case, so I want to make sure that everything is very simply stated as far as policy goes. So what we changed was that the Senate has until the following Senate meeting to vote to overturn a veto that the President makes. In the case of vetoes occurring less than 48 hours before a Senate meeting, the Senate has until the next 2 Senate meetings to overturn. Does that kind of make sense? Just so that if a veto does happen, we have a good ample amount of time to discuss the matter or discuss the matter at a meeting and make sure that the entire process is fair for both parties. Moving on, we had concerns with just SG standing committees. I'm not standing committees, just the power of the secretary in that regard. So we wanted to make sure that if there's ever a question about whether an ad hoc committee is standing or the term of an ad hoc committee and how many people sit on it, we always wanted that to go to the secretary's discretion, seeing as she is the chair of SAB. So that was section 14. Again, if you have any questions, just raise your hand. Okay, yeah, we just changed some language for the operations manual. The director of policies and procedures will report directly to the speaker of the Senate and hold the director of policies and procedures. I don't think it's ever actually outlined in the Constitution. We got rid of some of the director positions that we don't have anymore. Again, if we do end up having to reinstate those positions, we will amend the Constitution as so. Just added the ones that we do have. The President shall appoint members to SAB at the first Senate meeting of their term. In the case that SAB cannot meet before a Senate ratification is needed, the President may make a recommendation for the Senate to make a motion and ratify. So that's just making sure that we're moving quickly and efficiently at the beginning of the semester, regardless of if we have a standing committee or not for SAB. Your question?
Yeah, I want to go back to section 18, for the director of policies and procedures. You removed and be a member of the Senate. So would that take away speaking rights from the,
Right. That was
or the voting rights?
Yeah, that was a question that we had that was in regards to it might be affected based on the operations manual. We had a couple questions just regarding that entire position, just because I feel in the past it's been pretty wonky and it hasn't really, the details of the job haven't been stated. So what we discussed in INL was where exactly do the limitations for that seat occur? Are they in the cabinet or are they not? They're a director, does that mean they're in the cabinet or is it just a director within the Senate? So I think what we decided within INL was that because of the certain measures that the seat has to take as far as their job description, like helping Secretary Gresh with voting. When we're voting and we're tallying, specifically we choose the secretary just because she has no hand in voting as well. So that's something the Director of Internal Records handled in the past. So we just thought it would be a fair and, I guess, transparent process for the Director of Policies and Procedures to also stay in the cabinet and not hold the voting privilege that the Senate has.
I mean, it seems like the rationale is that because the director of policies and procedures helps count votes, that's why they removed the.
This also came from just like being current director of policy procedures. So what I do is like, help the Senate like run and make sure everyone's like, doing what I'm pursuing. But like technically on the roster, it'll say that I'm holding an at-large seat. So for me, it's like I'm not doing a Senate project. So another person could be admitted into the Senate and pursuing an at-large project rather than me who's not doing the senator job, doing the director job. So just kind of allowing another person to be able to come in and fill that seat rather than sort of me being a director to have two seats. Does that make sense? And really, it wasn't really well defined. So we decided that it should just be all or nothing. You're part of the cabinet, or you're part of Senate rather than you're part of both.
Okay.
Any other questions? Then
Just to piggyback off of that, directors would not have a seat in the Senate.
All directors do not have a seat in the Senate, that's right. They don't have voting rights as well.
Any other questions? Senator Cooper.
What's the selection process for policy procedures? So is it just the speaker who chooses it, or are you changing it?
That is what we have done in the past. And in the past, there really isn't a formal process that we ever really followed. With me and Nadette, yes, I chose Nadette and I interviewed all the candidates. Yes.
That wasn't that wasn't changed. Like how they're being chosen, like that wasn't changed. So
I heard somebody rumbling about that.
yeah. Yeah, it's gonna say like the way in which they're chosen, as in like they'll have a test on like how they do in the Constitution, and they'll be interviewed by the speaker.
But I think with the fact that their seat is within the cabinet, it's more of like a joint effort between the speaker and the board. So it's not just the speaker, it's not just the board, it's both. Vice President Wilson, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I just would want to, I also, the policies and procedures essentially are parliamentarian.
Correct.
So they make, if you go to the description, luckily we don't have to do it here in the Senate meeting often, but if people were shouting over each other, stuff like that, be holding us to the rules, the policies and procedures director has to have speaking rights at all times.
Right.
And none of the other directors have speaking rights unless you, as the speaker, give them the right to speak. So, I don't have anything against getting rid of the vote that they have, but she, as the policies and procedures, as a parliamentarian, they have to have unlimited speaking rights in the Senate. And right now, as it sits, only senators have speaking rights. So there has to be some way.
Is that true?
Only senators have speaking rights unless she gives me speaking rights, which she already did by pointing me out. I don't have speaking rights at the Senate until she gives it to me.
From my understanding, it's like the way it rules is like the speaker allows everyone to speak. So even now, like I, make sure that everyone's
But you don't have, you don't have to raise your hand. You don't have to. I do.
Senator Tate?
Correct if I missed this, but do we just wipe out a few director positions next year? Is that okay to us? Just the scholarships for them?
No, like the director of, the AVP of Public Relations, actually, that wasn't even finished, but the director of Public Relations, and the director of Internal Records and Community Outreach, those have been inactive for a while now.
Okay.
Yeah. Going back to the topic at hand with just speaking rights, I think, I don't know, is this something that we can further outline or further clarify within your job description in the operations manual, or do you think this is specifically for the Constitution? Because as far as the Constitution goes, I don't think that's really the place to be nitty gritty about like this or this needs to occur or this position holds this power.
Right, something like that would be
In operations manual. So I think that's something, I'm glad you brought up, I think that's something that I and I should look forward to clarifying in the operations manual.
wherever it does say who speaks, I don't speak.
Senate meeting
Wherever it
procedures.
is, it'll be specified.
Correct.
We'll take care of that.
Does that make sense? We're good with that? Okay. Moving on. Okay, we did staff or the change to section 4. Okay, I think we're on section 7. The SGA vice president shall supervise and remove all the cabinet positions that we felt the vice president is already taken care of. And then we made sure, we
we made sure with these job descriptions just to make clear that you are also the chair of this or you're the co-chair of something else, because I think within committees, there's lots of confusion as to who's supposed to be taking meetings or where that responsibility lies. So we made sure to clarify that. So the director of student affairs or academic affairs, basically all the cabinet members are under the vice president's jurisdiction, that's their job title, and as well as the cabinet. So that's what section 7 entails. And then for the secretary, we made sure that currently she has been overseeing the director of technology, correct? And director of policies and procedures is also working closely with her, so we made sure to add that into the Constitution. Any questions about those changes? President Fong?
Yeah, I don't, so you added the director, the secretary shall supervise the director of policies and, or the director of technology, that was added?
Yes, that was added.
Okay, so my issue with that is that you're creating a precedent
Yeah.
for like every administration moving forward. Like this year it worked out that
Yeah.
that's how we define our responsibilities and who reports to who. But so like when people come back next year, or in any preceding year, they're just going to ultimately assume that the director of technology reports to the secretary because we did that. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I see where that could cause confusion as well. Yeah, I think that was just, in the past 2 years, it's worked out with higher COLA. But I think that's something that we should look back on and probably remove. But policies and procedures, it is in their job description to talk to the secretary.
I will add that a majority of these changes, so like, I don't know, remember 2 years ago, I don't know, whoever it was here 2 years ago, when Vince was still speaker, we spent like a couple hours within the meeting, just like going through all these changes. That, yes, the Senate approved it, but because they never ended up going through the final process of getting it approved by student life, it was never like uploaded onto our worksing page. So a lot of these changes were things that like, you know, was drafted once before, so, you know, we kind of just use that as like a template kind of reference.
Senator Walsh.
I was actually on IML when we did that, and we spent like 4 hours on these changes, so we really thought pretty thoroughly on most of the changes that are up there. So with that, Senator Constitution.
Thank you. Moving on to the treasurer, we added that the director of finance and outreach would be under their jurisdiction or supervision. So I think that one makes sense. If not, let me know. I think as far as the new constitution, I think that note was there before. Correct me if I'm wrong. Director Major, it's just stating that facilities of SGA are supposed to be used by the Senate and office, Senate office, and the board office is supposed to be used by members of SGA for the purpose of SGA. And then just clarifications on qualifications. Nothing really changed, it was just language. Director of Policies and Procedures is responsible for ensuring all SGA members maintain qualifications. SGA members shall be removed from office. Oh yeah, I guess we just moved it to the end of that line instead of in the middle. The Student Org Center, we changed the requirement for the Student Org Center to be a part of at least 2 recognized active student organizations other than one. We had Senator Craig on IO and he approved those changes, so we got feedback from those senators to make sure that was doable. And we changed, for elections, we said that right now the Board of Elections has that a president and a vice president are to attend at least 1 meeting of the student organization, or of this, at the SGA Senate to run for elections, but we changed it to 3 just because we figured we don't want anyone that's not well informed of what goes on within SGA to have the opportunity to run in SGA, just because those are very, very highly competitive positions, so we just want someone more equipped, not equipped, but just more knowledge.
Do you think we can advertise that better? So one of the things that I was realizing is that maybe if someone wanted to run, this pretty much makes it so if you're not deciding you can't run for executive board, because who knows that rule? Who's not in the Senate, who's going to show up for 3 meetings?
Well, it is within
video easy. I don't know if you saw the guidelines. They do reference our constitution, and this is one of the sections. So if you are running, that is something you should be aware of. President Vaughn?
Yeah, I'm gonna say that this is one, and I don't have a say in what we do with the Constitution because I don't have voting rights, but, this one definitely bars access to who can run. You said that like, you don't want people coming into SGA who don't have a knowledge of what SGA does. We don't have any authority to bar anyone from potentially entering SGA. This is a public office. We're actually held to the Ohio constitutional sunshine laws as a body. So doing something like pulling them to a higher standard, give them less of a chance to run, right? That's like, even in law outside of SGA, right? You don't have to attend a meeting in order to run, right? You just have to fill out a petition and put your name on the ballot.
Okay, I think the process, just to clarify what I know, decision was, we changed, like the student work center requirements, so we were just like, if we're holding people to a higher standard, that was just kind of the thought process we were going off of, but I understand where that discretion lies well. Does that make sense? Senator C, did you have anything to add?
I just wanted to
Echo that?
echo that, what President Kwon said, and maybe we could, maybe not like take that out, but we will amend for that one, because I don't think that that's a good reflection of us, but it does like bar who has access and who can run. Maybe we can change the terminology.
So we are comfortable with one regular meeting room, correct? As it says, as it stands? Okay, I'll take that as a yes. The Director of Policies and Procedures shall inform all applicants of the next Senate meeting, so we just changed that from the Secretary to the Director of Policies and Procedures as they chair start. Senator Dougherty.
Back to section 7, yes, why is it just office of the president and vice president with all of the board positions?
Again, this is just, I'm not sure if that's what the Constitution says as it stood, so I don't know who exactly made that a rule, but that was something that we put in, and we also are the reason for the conception of the board of elections. That's also in the Constitution, so we did make a decision of who and how is going to be elected. Senator Bernard.
I disagree with the fact that it can only be one meeting and then someone is qualified to run for president or vice president because that is such a high position. They need to have more experience than one meeting because that's saying that first impression is literally everything, and then that one day defines who you are in this organization if you're running to be the head of it. I think it should be at least 2. I'm not saying 3, I'm not saying 1, but in the middle 2, because how are you saying one meeting is enough? I think you have to have multiple instances with this person running to be the head of the organization.
I'll go with Senator Downer and.
Yeah, I definitely, Senator Bernard, I see your point. I don't know, from what I know, typically, generally, like organizationally, we like are now at a point in history where we start looking at what are barriers to entry. So this really, it seems to me what we're talking about here. And I would say, I would prefer rather than legislating how many meetings you have to attend, I would prefer that it's taken into account as a whole, you know what I mean? So like, I don't necessarily feel that, I see where you're coming from, but I feel also that if you have really persuasive ideas and you've only been to one and the rule is 2, I think that shouldn't necessarily disqualify you. I think that should come up in sort of the debate that is involved generally with running. I don't know, that's my take on it, but feel free to hash it out with it.
I mean, just going over what everyone said, like, I don't feel like there should be necessarily a requirement. I mean, I'm just, as an example, like, Joey was saying, he was in SGA and he ran for the board, you know what I mean? So I really don't think that there should be a precedent as to who can run and who can't. Like, in real government, that's not how it's run. There are no requirements. As President Kwon said, all you have to do is send a petition and you can run. So I don't think that there should even be that. We should weigh like what they have to offer despite if they've attended a meeting.
So if we keep these 3 mandatory meetings like a thing, then it's going to be on us to endorse the heck out of these open positions. Because if we don't, then we're going to be eradicating the entire population that will not be able to run against us. Therefore, eliminating the pool, make it incredibly tiny, and then might not see anybody to raise it. That's just like a thing. Or we keep it open door policy, you don't have to attend a meeting, and if you're qualified, you get the job done, then fair.
Oh, Senator.
I feel like one is a very acceptable number, because if you sign up for anything, I think you should at least go and check it out and see how it is. That's reasonable, right? DOE can give you a heads up that that's the thing, you can come to one of our meetings. I don't even know if we've had free meetings between DOE and now. So does that mean they would have to go to just about all of the meetings for them? What if they're busy on a Friday? So,
Well, it is for, I think, an academic term, correct? For an
yeah, but what I'm saying is, if your candidate wants to run, you don't know this. Like, if I'm just coming from any old club and I want to run, the time I learn that is when the DOE tells me that, right? So between that time, 3 is a very tenuous number of times you have to attend. I think 1 is good because you get an idea of how it's ran. Go to more if you'd like. 2, 3, they just seem kind of excessive. I don't think we're barring anybody from 1. I think that sounds very fair. We just keep it the way it is.
Right, and that's also something I want to stress, like, is the sentiment that we want to keep it the way it is, or is it we want the president or vice president to be held to that standard? Senator Walsh.
Also, you gotta think of like the possibility that the person might have like a full-time job during the time that he's signing up, but he would, or he or she would know that they would be available for the time when they serve. So like, how would we accommodate those people?
Right, yeah, we want it to be as fair and open as possible. Senator Cody.
I would say maybe we come up with something in the middle, first of all. Second of all, maybe what about if someone has experience before in a different place, maybe another SGA? That would be maybe something maybe you want to consider, or you want to add that as well. Maybe if he didn't do the 3 meetings, but he has experience in 2 years in another SGA in a different school, that would be something you might consider.
So I'd like to make a decision. I think we've been talking for a while, so Vice President Wilson, I hope that's what you're.
Yeah, I was, same sentiment. I just think, it seems like everybody talking, we kind of probably would be okay with the status quo.
Okay, so keep it as it is. Okay. As is, and I mean that as 1 meeting. Yes. Moving past section 8. Every standing committee will be chaired by an SG member. If appropriate, SG member may be named co-chair of the standing committee with voting privileges remaining intact.
Can you explain the rationale behind that one?
Yes, because we're gonna go into the section with committees, and at times, I think we make a director a co-chair. So in that way, because as a chair, you don't have voting, you want to make sure that the person in the meeting minutes doesn't lose up on that other meeting. That may also have some weigh-ins that we need to consider, so I'm not saying that's exactly how the perfect ideal way is going to play out. Okay. Any committee shall have spaces for up to 6 voting members and up to 3 spaces for non-SG students. The max is 9 members. I just want to keep it. Question? President Pong?
Yeah, like when you say the committee should have space for 50 voting members, by removing senators, you're like decreasing the pool of senators that can actually have voting rights on the committee, because directors cannot have voting rights on the committee.
Okay. I think that was just because we were keeping in mind it ad hoc as well, so just trying to like make it equal across the board, but I see where the terminology could be fixed. Senators or officers not to, but at the same time, I feel like senators and officers are kind of the same thing as members. Up to 3 spaces for.
Just to extend that, so.
Do you remember something about that?
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of this, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of this was from Alan Dunsky's term, and like, this was just like the starting, like the base, she created like the backbone of our constitution.
No.
No?
No.
But like, this
There
was.
were revisions during the term, that's right.
Okay, but we have free reign to change it, you know, like directors, officers, and I don't really think it matters, and we don't have to like strictly adhere to that. We can change what we want.
Okay, how about we come back to section 3 after we look at ads? Moving on, I just changed the order of the committees to alphabetical order, and I included STARB and STAB, I think, as well, because they weren't on here before. Also, at the same time, we did remove priorities additions and committees that are inactive and not on our committee appointments list. Okay, finance. Non-SGA student members of this committee with voting rights shall be active in at least 2 recognized CSU student organizations. That changed from 1. Is there concern over this? Questions? Then we changed no student organizations other than SGA shall be represented by more than 1 non-SGA voting member on this committee. We were discussing this a while ago. Can you go back into that explanation, because I don't think I need to remember it now.
I'm actually trying to find where you are.
Section 7A. No student organization other than SGA shall be represented by more than 1. So we're saying, I think, so we're saying that this non-voting SGA members, the non-SGA voting members of finance that could potentially be in finance committee would not represent more than 1 organization. So if we have 2 people from MSA that are not already a part of SGA, we wouldn't exactly accept those just for that committee. Just so we don't have an over-representation of 1 committee.
So you mean if someone is in a student organization more than 1, he or she can be in the finance committee?
No, it's saying that they just can't vote on it, so it's like their own organization.
But that's already a finance rule, so now that I'm thinking
Oh,
about it.
they don't have the right to vote.
Right.
But that's fine, okay.
It's a non-SU member.
Yeah, not issue. Okay. No voting members of finance committee shall vote on the proceedings of an organization for which they are a member of. So yeah, that is a bit redundant, and it equates to the same thing, so we might remove 1 of these.
I'm not sure, I'm sorry.
You gotta make sure that when you edit these things, like officially, that you go back to INL, they vote on it, like we can edit it now, but then we have to vote on each individual one. So I would edit it with how you're gonna look, like how you wanna change it.
Right now?
No, like just make a note of it, and then it has to be either voted on here, or it has to be voted on committee, and then voted back here.
Well, I feel like it's gonna come back at the last meeting anyways, because the operations manual is also gonna be voted.
Right, so you can't just change it right now and then bring it back to the Senate. You would have to either vote on it now or vote on it in committee.
Right, I'm saying it'll probably go back to now.
Okay.
Yeah. Senator Luna.
My question is about the finance committee, and the members of the finance committee. So I'm not sure if I'm saying that right or not. So if someone is representing more than 1 organization and he's in the finance committee, does he or she have the right to vote? No.
Do they have the right to vote on that?
Finance committee.
They have the right to vote in it. So that can clarify.
I'm actually not understanding your question, yes.
My question is, let me restate this. If someone represents more than 1 student organization, and he or she in the finance committee, does he have the right to vote in the finance committee?
They definitely don't have the right to vote on their own organization's allocations, that's true. As far as other, I do believe Senator Walsh, can you clarify as a finance committee member if they're allowed to vote?
Yeah, you're allowed to vote no matter how many orgs you're on, but those orgs, what we did in the past when Treasurer Singh first came in, we compiled a list of like all the student orgs we're on, officially and unofficially, and I think we even posted on the window for some time, just so it's, to show transparency. And so like any student org that we were a part of, even officially, we were not supposed to even really talk about it, or like, yeah.
That's correct. I think the confusion where I was, and I think maybe some of you are, is just non-SGA voting, so that means just not members of SGA. They can vote on finance deliberations, but they can't vote on deliberations that concern the organizations they're a part of. Vice President Wilson?
Yeah, just to clarify that. We used to, and it doesn't happen very often, but we allow like non-SGA members to sit on committees, and that includes finance committees. And that's what Speaker King is talking about. That says that no student who's not a member of SGA, who's on the committee, can be of more than 2 student orders. You know what I'm saying? But we don't have any members who aren't from SGA on these committees anyway, so it looks like you guys are kind of striking that.
Yeah.
I'm calm, my recommendation is, if anyone is an officer in a student organization, more than one student organization, I think, and I believe, he now should be in the finance committee.
If there is more than one organization.
Yes, that's an opinion, or if you wanna take it as a friendly amendment or whatever, so that's my opinion. If any student, if more than one student, officer in a student organization, I think we will have, he now be in the finance committee, that's what I feel.
Is there any additional comments on what Senator Pridge said, Senator Walsh?
I feel like the rules of just being not able to vote on your own student orgs is fair enough, because you can't really punish someone for like technically being an overachiever, or like being in as many student organizations as they want to be. And as long as we believe that they're unbiased and they have had no instances where they've done anything wrong, they would be sent to INL and that would be fixed. But I don't believe that should really pose a problem.
I understand. I think this is I think all the highlighted terms will go back to INL, so we can, eventually when we get through the Constitution, we'll ratify the non-highlighted terms, and then we'll come back next meeting, and we'll discuss what INL is deemed accurate for middle scale representation. So I'm going to move on to INL now. So INL will serve as the call of any board member, Speaker of the Senate, or the SG Senate, and now that we're on the topic of redundancy, I'm already part of the Senate, so I guess that makes sense, but the reason why we added my position was just because this year, obviously, if there's anyone that knows what exactly a senator is doing, it's the Speaker, because they have all the details and all those office hour records, so that's why I wanted to add that question. Does that make sense? Okay. Moving on, we said the Director of Policies and Procedures shall serve as the co-chair with voting privileges intact in committee, specifically this committee, not just any committee. And that was just because as co-chair, that was one of the things we changed earlier on. So as